Oh boy. I don't even want to make this video. I really don't. Because this is going to be one of the more depressing videos that I've had to make, but it has become glaringly obvious that the people who are part of, I'm not going to say their letters anymore, because after this, I'm going to officially wipe my hands of it, because this isn't an attack. This is just a bunch of observations. Because at this point, I'm exiting the anger stage. Like, these people can get you so pissed off and so angry that it fucks your sleep up. I notice that this is usually the case with individuals in my life who have gotten me mad. Um, so I don't even know really where to begin, but I do have like a few observations. First of all, based on what I suggested, it's very obvious that there is growing hostility coming from people within that group who do not like and do some of them even say there shouldn't have been letters or whatever, which is really fascinating. So apparently the most aggressive vocal people are coming forward, and one of them even said, "Get out of here." And to me, that is really, I think that statement right there is the theme. If this was a story, that would be like a running theme here, which is these people are exclusionary. They don't want to include people like myself or people who identify the way that they do. And for the record, I'm not a trans person, so some people will probably try to take this out of context. I'm a bisexual submissive man. Technically, I'm a service submissive. I don't even think people know what the fuck that means. And the reason why people don't know about these terms or this terminology is because they truly believe, and this is what was shocking to me, is how many people actually believe these misconceptions or have this degree of ignorance. They actually think that being a submissive man or a dominant woman is a kink. No, it's not. It's just that we were two of the first groups to be targeted by the abrahamic religions. What's really fascinating to me is how people seem to associate our groups with a kink based on the fact that you see so much sexual activity related to these two, right? And they think that, I guess they think in their minds, well, it seems like a paraphilia or whatever, so it's a home run, right? You're actually wrong. And the reason why you're wrong is because A, we have always existed. B, there are passages in that book that people then went on to they went on to discriminate against people who exhibited the characteristics that our people did, which forced us to suppress our true selves for the sake of survival. And this happened for over 1,500 years. So actually, this has been a very serious ongoing problem, right? And one of the only areas where dominant women and submissive men could express themselves um, more completely was in the bedroom. So, not acknowledging the history behind this and why there are so many submissive men and dominant women who who first come through and are often known from this arena of life, people make the assumption and wrongfully assume that this is just, a kink or this is just about sex. It's not. The problem is that society, which has been influenced heavily by Abrahamic religions for over, I want to say, actually at this point, yeah, it is true. For over 2,000 years, the influence of these religions has forced these people into suppressing themselves. How many times have you gone around and been on the internet and you've seen stuff like, well, that's a real man? By the way, that's code for a dominant man. Yes, that is actually code for a dominant man. Apparently, you're not a real man if you get on your knees or you prostrate yourself before a woman. Um, That's how I know that some of these people in this community that I'm referencing have not overcome any of their conditioning. These people think that just because they leave behind the religion, they leave behind the conditioning. No, you don't. You're still retaining these opinions, that these belief systems pounded into your brain, probably from the time you were a little boy or girl. And not only did they do that, um, see, I can't even keep my mind straight because I'm still exiting the pissed off stage. That there are people who are so vastly uneducated about this, that they can't fathom what the hell is going on here. Right? Like, why would these people? What then? Why? Why is it that when you type in these words? But it's because they had no choice. You realize that there were laws in place where if a woman dared to speak up, so if a woman who was dominant dared to speak up against a guy, and that guy happened to not be a submissive, because those people had been suppressing themselves. See, this is part of the thing that they don't understand. What's fucked up about the society is that because these people had to suppress themselves out of the sake of survival, they couldn't. There were a lot of times when they couldn't be with the partners they wanted to be with. So imagine that you're one of these dominant women and you want to be dominant and you want to tell a guy what to do, but the guy fucked with you, lied with you thinking he was a good person when he's actually just a predator, and now you're in a relationship, and this is in the past where you're entrapped, you can't get away, and he doesn't cheat. He's just a prick who got his prey. If you act dominant, he has a legal right to beat you. Maybe now some of you can start to have some more respect for the things that you don't understand. That you think, oh, it's just all. No, it's not just all women. Submissive women didn't have the same kind of shit thrown at them that the dominant women did. The dominant women in the world were specifically told, shut the fuck up, be submissive to your men. The entire passage itself implies the existence of dominant women, or at least women who can express dominant behavior. Because if it didn't, then why would they be telling people, women, to be submissive? Could it be because the opposite is true? They're literally implying that the opposite is the case. Like, we're right there. But no, they didn't even want to acknowledge the passages. They were just pissed off that somebody dared make a suggestion. So these people who ignorantly speak on this topic, who know nothing about the past, who can't connect the dots and see that actually the reason why this is happening, and it's so often expressed in the sexual way, the way you see so many sexual submissives, and the reason why you see so much of this stuff related to sex, is because it's literally the only place where they could get away with it. If you don't believe me, try to go to an Arab country and try to prostrate yourself before a woman and see what that gets you. You really think that it's like that? How about a woman, a regular dominant woman, try to tell another guy what to think or how to feel in public? Even acting like a dominant woman now in a social space is not considered socially acceptable. There are still people who refer to that woman with gender-based slurs. When men come out in public and they engage in acts of submission towards women that are not even sexual, in that one picture I saw, there were no naked women, no naked men. All the men were doing was prostrating themselves before the women. That was it. They were prostrating themselves before the women. Just to be clear, the Japanese do this all the fucking time in their media. If you watch these anime, men are routinely shown doing this. And even some women do. So, I mean, it is cultural for some places, but for others, it's obvious what the significance of that body language is, which is those are submissive men. They are engaging in an act of submission to the women in their lives. And how are they met? There was over 11 million views, and a lot of it was hostile towards these people. Hostile, angry. Obviously, they were not socially supportive of that. So isn't it interesting that when it's non-sexual, no one wants to talk about the discrimination that my people face. No one wants to talk about how much we're actually hated, looked down upon. Yeah, but because we choose to express ourselves in privacy in these videos, one of some of the few places where where we can actually find not only a place where we can be ourselves, but where we can find other people like us. We can get a sense of community, although it's not much. We're still shit on because we're called kinksters. Apparently, they think this is a kink. It's not. We're one of the real fucking groups. But they want to believe this shit. They want to believe things that are contrary to not only evidence, historical evidence, like current evidence, historical evidence, observable reality, as well as just your basic intuition, which is obviously if a dominant woman is participating in sports because she wants to dominate, I don't know what the fuck is sexual about that shit. Maybe somebody can get hard off of it. I certainly don't. See, that's the thing that these people that really, it's just appalling to me is they think they know where my submissiveness begins and ends. They think they know where a woman's dominance begins and ends. But for many Americans who are submissive or dominant, it really isn't just the bedroom. Because if it was, why is it that men like competing sports? Why? Because they want to dominate, right? Well, there are women who want to dominate. Why do you think you see some women who try to out-argue other women? You think only men do this shit? No, it's because it's an expression of a person's dominant personality type. Now, if you have a man who's submissive, do you notice how some submissive men will just do whatever their wives want, or whatever a person wants, or whatever a group wants? There are different types of submissives, by the way. You notice how it's not sexual all the time? Like if a woman says, go get groceries, here's the list. And then a guy does it. He's being submissive. Do you think just maybe that we exist outside of this like tiny little box you're trying to push us in? And could you try to understand how that could be infuriating? No, I guess not, right? Because you think that our struggles and the things that we have and we go through are completely disconnected from yours. I never asserted that it had to do with same-sex rights. It doesn't. It has to do with the treatment of us all by the Abrahamic religions. And it's obvious that that wasn't enough of a common ground for you guys. So I'll tell you what I said last night. I'm going to defuse the situation. And one of the ways I'm going to do this is I'm walking away. I am not going to speak with you people. Anytime you try to start an argument with me, I'm going to block you. It's literally not worth it because you know what? And if you get into, like, I don't know, some people do like to get into groups. They like to whip up mobs. It will literally make no difference because I will just start muting threads. It's simply not worth my time to engage with people who are coming in with preconceived notions about who I am or judgments without actually analyzing things properly. If you think being a submissive man or a dominant woman is the same thing as like a fetish, or the same thing as, like, let's say somebody liking scat or blood or whatever, there's nothing in these books that talks specifically about those things. However, in those books, they do specifically imply the existence of my people as well as the dominant people, especially the dominant women. But, because this is a patriarchy, and I'm guessing it's because these people have not shed their patriarchal conditioning, all these people, especially I was shocked, the lesbian women who showed up and were telling me to get bent or whatever. It is very obvious that this, like, it's so depressing because with the men, I understand it. They're men. They're going to be conditioned to be hyper competitive and aggressive and violent. So whatever, it is what it is. I can learn to accept some things. But when I see women acting like this, being just as hostile as their men are, the men in their group or the group that they're associating with are getting to the point where they're basically expressing aggression and anger towards me, telling me to join another group that at this point I don't even want to have anything to do with. That just goes to show you that this is like a war for them, And for me, all I was trying to do was reach out my hand and say we could be brothers, sisters in arms, and friends. And what they did was they slapped that away and then they spit in my face. So since you wanted to take that attitude with me, I have to respond appropriately by doing the only thing I really know how to do when it comes to hostility.